And 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, I'm super excited for today's guest, Mr. Xavier Gens. He is the director of such horror titles as Frontiers, Cold Skin. We've got The Divide. He also did The Hitman with Timothy Oliphant, Crucifixion. He did one of the bits in the original first ABCs of Death movie. You better bet that we're going to cover all of that stuff. So as soon as we get him on and get him connected here, we are going to cut right into the chase, and we're gonna get this bad boy started.
Hello.
Xavier,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. Sorry, my AirPods were not charged.
Okay,
Missing in action.
not a problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So if I've been doing this show now. I've had a few episodes here, and generally, what I'll do, kind of the layout, is I have a couple icebreaker questions initially, and then we get into some more personalized, individual stuff to you and your craft, and then I have a final segment that I've made just for you, Xavier.
Okay, perfect.
We're going to get it right on kicking, man. You have some absolutely amazing horror movies. I know you're a fan of horror as well. So, off the bat, what are 3 recent horror movies that you've seen that have resonated with you?
I think I'm really into horror movie because my dad was bringing me to see horror movie. He got me. My parents got me quite young. They were in their early 20s. Back in the 70s, so they were bringing me to theater with them. And I saw in theater, I still remember seeing Mad Max 2, the Jaws, so many horror movies, even Friday the 13th, the first one, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Gremlins, that was a little bit later, but from, let's say, 5 to 10, I have seen movies were not supposed to be watched by kids.
Right.
But I really enjoyed them. I love to be. What I really liked about it was to be scared with my dad and my mom in the theater. So it was really great to be able to see that. No, that was. I think I was lucky to be able to see that at my age and discover this gem. I even seen The Thing. I was probably 7 years old when first time I saw it.
So now, early, you've been a fan, of horror movies even early on. Over all the years that you've watched horror, what are some scenes that have resonated with you? You definitely have some scenes in your own movies that years after I watch them, there's still parts where I'm like, oh boy, it's just.
I will say I've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre quite late, probably at the end of the 80s or beginning of the 90s. And I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was probably such a traumatized movie for me.
Yeah.
It was still in me, but the entire film, not only one scene specifically, and so I think that this movie was really something special for me. Then Jaws was really something special. The first, the kid with the yellow thing, I don't know in English how you say it, but that
Right.
first, I think the first murder in Jaws, the girl in the dark at the beginning, and then the kid, were 2 very strong scenes when I was a kid to watch. And after I was really into that kind of imaginary world. I really liked fantasy movie and genre movies, so that's why I was really into discovering that kind of movie more than realism. I'm in France. We are doing a lot of very realistic films, and we don't have so much fantasy movies. And I was really into movies who are opening imagination. And in the glorious 80s. I was lucky to be a kid with all the Amblin production were shown. For example, the year 1985 is probably one of the most insane year in terms of fantasy and sci-fi, and it's crazy. You have so much film in that year. It's
Right.
when you were a kid at 10 years old, you were on theater every day. So
Right. Right. Okay, so now, when you were younger, did you have local video shops, like movie rental stores that you would
Yeah,
frequent?
I was renting mostly. That's how I discovered Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's how I discovered Star Wars because I never seen Star Wars, the first Star Wars in theater. My parents were not into Star Wars, so they were more into Alien and Terminator. So I
They
don't
wouldn't
know.
let you see Star Wars, but they'd let you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
So
huh?
I discovered Star Wars far later. So I rent Star Wars on the video store, you know. So I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, that's great. But I was so mature, I think, for Star Wars.
Yeah.
I meet the fandom. I like it, but I'm not crazy into it. I prefer the Lord of the Rings trilogy, for example, which is the same story, but from Tolkien. I'm really into that, but not that much in
Right.
Star Wars.
Your directing origin. I know when you were younger, you made some vampire and some zombie movies and different things.
Yeah.
How did that develop into when growing up and deciding I want to actually make movies? For I want to become a director.
It was not becoming a director because I think this is a posture. It was more about telling stories,
Okay.
which really impact me. So I was first doing comics. I was drawing and writing a lot of comics. So I really enjoyed that. And when I was at school, I was much more like doing hello Charlotte. I was much more doing like drawing and writing. I was telling my story, the story I really liked. And most of the time, my main character in my comics were Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. These bad guys were the good guys in my comics.
Okay. Do you still
So,
have those?
sorry?
Do you still have those?
Yes, I still have them, not here, but I still have them at home. And it's like
Oh.
Michael Myers saving Jason Voorhees with saving Freddy Krueger far before Freddy versus Jason.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
So
Wow.
that's why I was crossing over this universe because I was a big fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise when I was a kid, and later on I was like trying to use a Super 8 camera. My parents have a Super 8 camera, and I have like little figurines. So I was trying to do stop motion animation and filming my brother with gruesome sausage and things like this, like with blood and stuff. So quite enjoyed that. And then with my friend at school, I was asking them every weekend to go with me in the small mountain. We were living in south of France, and in south of France we were just doing zombie film and vampire film when we were kids in the hills around Nice. Nice is a city in south of France. So I was shooting that in this place between Villefranche-sur-Mer, for people who know Villefranche-sur-Mer, and Nice.
Okay.
There is a place called the Mont Boron, and we were shooting there. And
Oh.
but
Okay.
and I shoot probably five very long and very badly edited because it was in VHS, and I had two VCR, and I was doing the editing with that. And yes,
Right.
Charlotte, I saw The Exorcist when I was a kid on the general channel, and that was my biggest traumatization. I was very scared of that movie. Really, it was
Okay.
horrible. I was really, really traumatized by this, and it was so realistic. I was more into. I need something about imagination to believe in it and be away from reality. The Exorcist was so realistic that really scared me. You know, with the
Sure.
Freddy Krueger movies, when you are a teen, it's like, okay, I'm a teen, and there's connection because you are a teen, so it's really entertainment, you know. But the Exorcist franchise was really something terrifying for me, and I was kind of scared by discovering terrifying film, and I go into very realistic film like the Devils by Ken Russell or this kind of movie a little bit later. I was protecting myself by watching more inoffensive film, let's say.
Okay. So when you were younger, were you still more infatuated with the shooting and the directing as opposed to acting, or did you do some acting in your movies too?
No, no, not really. I'm not really into acting because I'm too shy to be in front of camera. So if I'm doing an interview for me, it's like a big effort. But I was really more into creating a visual style, framing. I really like framing and creating crazy situation in front of the camera, but not really acting. I'm not. I love to understand the process of acting. So my
Okay.
really the thing I really like is to find the emotion into the actors. So now the movies I'm going to and the direction I'm taking is more into telling adult story and going into analyzing and discovering very strong trauma for characters and telling adult story more than teen story. I did my teens movie with Frontiers and the Divide
Sure.
And now after Cold Skin, I really want to do movies who are really like Cold Skin.
Okay. Okay. How would you, if you were to describe your directing
So
style?
I give just a special dedicace to a friend of mine who are playing Call of Duty.
Okay.
They are top one at the moment, and I will join them a little bit later tonight.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. How would you, in your own, your own words, how would you describe your directing style?
Hmm. I would say it's instinctive. I'm not trying to create a visual style. I prefer to be like I really like with Cold Skin. Cold Skin is really a movie which really look like me. The emotion I'm putting into Cold Skin is really close to what I am, and I love natural landscape, natural environment, and realism into the characters and trying to bring fantasy into reality, which is
Hmm.
something I really like because I like to escape reality as soon as I can.
Hmm.
And I don't really have a specific style. It's more people to tell me because I don't, it's something instinctive. It's a gut feeling when you feel that this is the right shot to do. You do that shot, but it's not something you're not trained to create one shot to say, hey, this is my style. I don't think I have a specific style. I think I really go by instinct. And if
Okay.
the shot is right, I think this is the right shot. But I think there's some gimmick I get from editing, but it's not something I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about creating a shot or creating a gimmick of edits just to
Okay.
create a style. I try to find the right reason to put the camera in that place to tell the right story, not trying to show off with a specific shot. It's really something. It's a gut instinct, really.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I guess I can appreciate that. And I do see that as well because I see through, certain movies you have kind of where you'll allow the actors to improv and you'll, change things up in light of, the better half of the film, as opposed to, just direct, sometimes directors are very, visual and they're like, no, this is what we're going to be doing. I see that you have changes between your approach to certain movies.
Like, completely. I think it was after Hitman. On Hitman, it was so square. You have to respect the script of the studio, so you cannot really escape from the script. And at some point with Timothy Olyphant, we had a scene at the end of the film, and we wanted to change the dialogue. The dialogue were not fitting they were not right. It was not really meaningful, and it was a bit. It was really lazy writing for the final scene, one of the final scene of the film. And
Okay.
Timothy wrote a proposition which I think were far better, and we decided to shoot that. We decided to shoot
Okay.
something completely different from the studio, and we got some issue with this because at the end they asked us anyway to shoot their version, but it was wrong. I think when you're on set, and I experiment that after on the divide, I had the script, and I said to the actor, okay, this is what you have to do, but let's bring life into it. Let's do something which gonna feel realistic, will feel alive, will feel a little bit more fleshy than we wrote in that. When you have 8 characters in the same room, it's not by giving strong direction and saying to them, okay, you're going to stay there, there, and there. At some point, it feels fake. And
Hmm.
for me, I would say The Divide was the first movie where I could experiment that. And then I experiment a little bit more on few other stuff. I was really experimenting on a movie called Cold Skin. With David Ox and Ray Stevenson, who really give us the possibility to change things all the time. And as we had only 2 actors with our director who was playing the creature, was really able to do whatever we wanted on it. So that was really great. And on the French comedy I did, that was, I would say, the first time I let the actor go with their flow. And I adapt myself to them, and I really did that movie to experiment that because, okay, it's a comedy,
Huh.
but what was interesting for me was really to let this comedian play and have fun with the situation I was putting them in. And I had like 3 actors, like Mr. Poulpe, Manu Payet, and Jonathan Cohen. They are so good at improvising. They are really the best for that. So I was just letting them go, and at some point I was giving them away, and I was keep on following them with a camera and trying to adapt myself to their flow and their mood, and trying to figure out where I can put some specific ideas in what they were doing. So it was really, I would say, for me, it's an experimental film to try to figure out what I can do and where I can push some limits on the improvisation with actors. And then I think I got combined all of that in Gangs of London. When I worked on Gangs of London, we had a script, but we have the freedom to change few things and adapt with the actors. And we have like actors like Michelle Fairley. She was Mother Stark in Game of Thrones, and she was amazing because she was always giving us proposition, and she was always trying to find the truth about the scene, and that was fantastic. And I really enjoyed that process, and I cannot wait to go to my next film to just experiment even more, and find new situation and push a little bit boundaries on what I can do with the actors.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, and I mean that's a beautiful thing to see too, as far as it really bleeds through, as far as with the final product, and us as consumers watching, we can tell that with your work, that what it is that you're wanting to portray, from the script to the screen, is what we're getting, and it's beautiful to hear, as far as for the overall the overall positivity of the project, to let the actors kind of portray certain things and take on how they feel they would deal with the scenario.
And I think it's typically European as well. That means in Europe we have that availability and possibility to make more art than in US. In US it's an industry, so the team are really into a track, and you cannot go out of that track. And that's why some movies, when you watch them, they are like a little bit cold. And in Europe, I discovered that with the movie I produced called Papisha, and it's an Algerian film, and we had such fun to do that. We were really involved with the actors and what we did, and the process was to keep on shooting and get all the girls all together in one room and just repeat and rehearse all the scene over and over, and that was really amazing to experiment that and to keep and let the freedom to the director, which was Minia Medor, to do whatever she wanted to do. And suddenly from the page to the screen, you have like probably 20-30% of difference between what is written and what we have at the end of the film. But that's what is really interesting in terms of filmmaking, because suddenly you can really bring life into something different.
Sure. So now your first feature I wanted to talk about was Frontiers. Bam. Of course, in the collection. So 2007 was a very funny time for movies. With over in US, it was a lot of remakes and a lot of just kind of the same, type stuff that was going on, just silly slashers. And I remember specifically the first time watching Frontiers, and I just was kind of like shaking my head, like, why isn't there more things like this happening right now? Like why are these so few and far between? And that was kind of my introduction to really finding French horror and finding some of the movies that were coming out all these years later. What still holds to you as far as Frontiers? What is still what's something that keeps to your mind with that movie?
Quite funny, because when I did that thing, it was really for me to find what the same feeling I had when I was doing the film with my friend as a teen. So that was like doing the strong hardcore horror movie with my friends. So all the crew and some of the actors were my friends, and we were like just doing it like we were doing it over the weekend, like kind of French Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a way. So we wanted to really be in that kind of universe and try to see if we are able to do it in France, and with the most extreme things. And basically, as we have the freedom to go further than in the US, we are like, okay, let's go and push the boundaries to see what we can do and how extreme we can be. And the funny thing is, in the same matter of time, there was, what is his name? Pascal Logier, sorry. Alexandre Boustillot and Julien Maury, Fabrice Duvels, they were all doing their things on their side. So suddenly in France, we realized, and Alexandre Aja did it 2 or 3 years ago, praised before. So excuse my English. With high tension. So suddenly we were like, okay, Alex did it with high tension, so we can push forward. So it's why you have Frontier Inside, Martyrs, Calvaire, all these films in between 2007 and 2008. Suddenly they are an echo of high tension. And high tension also was a film where you have someone at Canal Plus called Emmanuel Alduy, who was like, oh, we can do this in France, so let's develop a little bit more French horror movies like High Tension. So suddenly
Right.
you create French Fire, and French Fire give you, in a matter of 4 or 5 years, the title I said, plus Eileen, plus Mutant, plus few other titles. And but it died after 5 years because in France these movies were not successful enough.
Oh,
So
okay.
that strong impact internationally, but and people are still talking about them today, which is
Oh.
funny because they are very small films. But in France, it's like we were considered like fucked up kids who did forbidden things.
Yeah, right, right. And it's funny you bring up Inside and Martyrs too, because those are both movies still that I have in my collection and absolutely love. And and like I say, at that time there wasn't a whole lot going on over in U.S. To different things that were original or impacting, and then these 3, 4 movies, Cavalier, like you mentioned, come out. And it's just like it was overwhelming. Like, why are there not movies like this being made over here? Like, wow, or more of them being made.
But I think it was really a specific thing happening in France for one specific moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're gonna look back in time, you're gonna see, okay, in France at the end of 2000, of the years 2000, where there was like an explosion of very gory and strong violence movie, because in the 90s there was so much MPA, the MPA was so strong.
Right.
There is almost no extreme film at all,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. And you have the Screams who are bringing back something, and then it came back from England. It came back with 28 Days Later. When Danny Boyle
Oh.
did 28 Days Later, suddenly everybody was like, oh, we were able to do this kind of film before. We were
Mm-hmm.
asleep for 10 years. And he did that, then Zack Snyder, and as it was successful, then there was directly behind the remake of Dawn of the Dead. And
All right.
then you had like all the hostel and stuff coming out, and it's true. The year 2000, when you look at it, it's the horror in it, and all the Saw franchise for sure, and that was something specific. And I think that spirit of the year 2000
Mm-hmm.
died with the found footage wave. As soon as you had Paranormal Activity coming up around 2007, 2008, it's the end, and you have like 5 years of fucking found footage with nothing in it, and I was like, fuck it. I really,
Yeah,
I
such a
so much.
bummer.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They were, because that is the irony with the Hollywood system. It's as soon as they find a formula where it's cheap and they can make a lot of money, they're gonna do 100 cheap movie to make a lot of money. But at some point, it's like the Western. They suck the they suck it until it dies. So it's and the same
Mm-hmm.
happening with a superhero movie. You're gonna see. I think I give them more. Let's say 5 years more, and that's gonna be done. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you hate hearing that, but that is the thing too, where there's such a cash grab so many times to where, it really kind of falls into you're going to get a couple of years or maybe a year where there's going to be some good things coming out, and then they'll see something and try to grab a speck of it and make the most money that they can. But as far as another one of your movies that I wanted to highlight was The Divide.
Mhm.
That movie, from seeing the cover to actually digging into the movie, was insane. And just by the end of it, I did not realize what I was going to be in for. And so the initial sequence was based on a dream or based on a nightmare, correct? Of
Yeah,
something that you'd had about a nuclear
no,
attack.
it was something I remember. I still remember it. It was something so shocking, and I directly talked about it to a friend of mine, and he told
Mhm.
me, "Oh, that could be the starting point of a film." I say, "Yeah, but what you can say?" And I had two producers called Ross Dynastin and Darren. Sorry, Darren, I'm I remember.
No problem.
But, Darren Welsh, excuse me. And we meet each other, and they give me that movie called Shelter, and it was about a group of people in a basement, and I was like, oh, okay, I was not completely into the script, but I met with the writer Aaron Chin, and we talked about that opening sequence. We talked about what we could do and how we could transform the script. And basically, we changed everything. We rewrite completely the film, and we were like, okay, let's make it like a Lord of the Flies in a basement, you know. And basically, Lord of the Flies was a strong influence on it, but as well, Pasolini Salo. For me, it was important to re-explore that thematic of Marquis de Sade, because we are talking about human beings in that basement. And I remember when we wrote it, everybody was saying to us, oh, "It's completely insane. Nobody will want to finance this." And we were like, "Yes, yes, let's try to make it." So we had like problem with the financing and stuff. But at the end, when we made it, the first thing we did was to ask the actor to look and go to a theater, and we organized that to watch Salo. And
Oh, golly.
have you seen this film?
Are you
It's
talking
not.
about 120 Days of Sodom?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
So I asked them to watch it, so they were like traumatized because
I bet.
you
Dear
cannot watch
Lord.
a film like this. And
Oh,
I remember Rosanna Arquette, she was like, I love it. And she was so into it. She watched all the Pasolini movie, and she became big fan of Medea and all these films. And so, okay, she get it. And one of the other actors, Milo Ventimiglia, they get it. All of them. Michael Bean was, okay, guys, I follow you, no problem. And
uh,
it was like so shocking for Lauren and German and Ashton Holmes. They were a bit shocked by what we're gonna do. And then
yeah.
when we start, we use the same process as Pasolini and Peter Brooks, basically. That was taking the script and evolve with the story and shoot in continuity, shoot in a chronological order, to be
Mhm.
able to tell that story and evolve with the story the way we wanted. So at some point, we just really shoot the first pages of the script. Then we have a clear storyline about what's going to happen, but we let a lot of freedom to the actors. And let's say after the death of the character of Courtney Vivans in the film, the things are going even more crazy. And for example, I let Rosanna creating her style. So one day she come to see me and she say, "What do you think if I have gaffer tape and on myself?" And
Uh,
okay, that's perfect. So I was very open to madness. So we embraced that completely, and that gives the film so.
okay. Now, between you and the writers early on in the process, with so many isolation and survival movies out there, what did you guys want to do to help differentiate that? Was it more just based on the characters and how they were dealing with the
It was
scenario?
it was based on the character, but it was also based on where we can push things. The idea was to push as much as we can the boundary, as I did with Frontiers, and as I was just coming from Hitman, and Hitman was a frustration because I couldn't finish the film the way I wanted. I was like, no, let's make something very personal, very bleak, very dark, with no hope at all. And
Yeah, you sure did.
and it was like a big fuck to the to the industry, and I was really happy to do that. You know?
Yeah,
And
that was
was
great.
tragedy in reaction to a system, and I think it was the right time to do it. For me, it's meaningful when I did it, and I really wanted to mark something and say something. And I'm still very proud of the film. I'm very proud of the 2 hour and 2 minute version, which is the full director's cut, and I couldn't make it if I wasn't the studio rule. You know, it's impossible to do a film like this. Even today, it's even more impossible. So no,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
doing like this.
The director's cut isn't available, is it?
Yes, it's available. It was available at Anchor Bay. It was 2 hour and 20 running time 122. And
Mm.
but there is more character development in the director's cut, not so much more horror. And there is the one scene with Rosanna, which is even it's more harder.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
very more scene with Rosanna.
Okay. So I have to ask, what inspired the can lid kill? Dear Lord, that was gruesome.
Which one?
The
Sorry.
the beans, the lid, where
Ah, yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
what
It's,
inspired that?
I think it was probably a Prophet, the Jacques Audiard movie. But
Oh, okay.
the prophet is with a razor blade, is killing the guy in the jail, and I was
Right.
figuring out how she can slaughter somebody with. She had nothing. She has no blade, nothing. And
Yeah.
at some point, I remember my wife cut herself at some point with a can of tuna. And I was, oh, that could be great. Let's use this.
Ooh, yeah, that was such a that was one of those scenes earlier. I was asking about you then scenes and different things that resonate with you because now anytime I open a can, I'm like, I gotta watch it. They're gonna
But
cut my head off.
I think it created effect, and I was happy to do it like this because the first thing was to make it like, oh, how can I bring that moment to something real? How can how she can react to this is the first thing she's gonna find. So it's
Mhm.
why we set up all this trash and rubbish all over the basement during the film, like that. It's realistic. She grabbed that can, take off the top of it, and she can slaughter someone with it.
Yeah.
It's
So
a survival instinct thing.
right. What went into the stunt with the stunt man and the full body on fire in a basement completely inside and not only being his top half completely nude. What all went into that?
Uh, actually, the Milo wanted to do it. I say to him, no one, yeah, you cannot do that. And basically, but we see it a bit. If you look frame by frame, you can see he got the gel over his body and
Yeah.
stuff. But there is a specific gel you can use, and you can hold fire on you for 1 minute
Okay.
maximum because it's very hot. And basically, the stunt double for Milo was the stunt coordinator son, and basically he put him a lot of gel all around, and then he put some alcohol over it, over the gel, and he engulfed his son on fire. And I was like, fuck. And we had three cameras set up for that shot. So and he's just running. He had a clever mask with which is a typecast of Milo. And he's just running with that in the corridor with the fire over him. We have a steady cam leading him, one camera for the top shot ready for the arrival spot
Okay.
when he's supposed to land and put himself on the floor to get to stop the fire.
Extinguished.
And
Yeah.
we had another profile camera for that, but at least the shot we did is like 30 seconds. So the time you engulf him on fire, the time is the fire is taking over and he's running and he go to land. It's 30 seconds max.
Okay.
35 seconds. So you still have 30, let's say 20 seconds of safety, but you have to be very specific about what you're doing because if you are not doing it well, you can burn the guy.
Yeah.
That's what's dangerous. So you have to time it. So we time it with a little bit of gel, a little bit of fire to see what's going to be the run for it. The only problem is on the rehearsal, he was able to see what he was doing. And when he was on girl for the take, it was impossible to watch because his eyes were under the clever mask,
Right.
and his eyelid could burn very quickly. So we closed the clever mask to let him run as fast as he can, but he was completely blind. So he count his steps and stuff to be able to do it properly. But it was very dangerous. It's a dangerous stunt, really. Don't do that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it just two takes then? You had one practice take and then one
One
take that you filmed?
practicing and one practicing, and if the one practicing was working, we're keeping the practice. But
Okay.
the fire was not big enough, so we asked for a bigger fire, and
Okay.
so we were like, okay, run faster.
Yeah, he's like, anything else? Would you like me to go get you a beer?
Faster.
Oh man, okay. So now next I wanted to ask you about the most recent watch that I have indulged in of yours is Cold Skin.
Yeah.
Where did this idea come from? I was very excited to see it, and this had more of a heart and had more of kind of a romantic, feel to it, and it was absolutely beautiful. What was the start? Where did this come from?
It's a book. The start is a book I really love called Cold Skin by Albert Sanchez Piñol, and
Yeah.
I really like that book, and I think it will be a fantastic film to adapt. And
Mm-hmm.
I know the right were owned by Kanzaman. It's a Spanish production company. So I contact them, and there was David Slade was supposed to do it, and at some point I thought, okay, okay, whatever, it's too bad. Then it goes to do Hannibal, the TV show. So there was a spot for me to do it. So I jumped on the seat of a director and took me time to prep to find the right formula to make it. Took us around 6 years, and we shot it in 2016. 1 year of post because there is a lot of CGI effect in it to make it realistic and make it possible to believe in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really something I really enjoyed. But the thing is, today I would love to explore and push more I think I had a longer version possible with it, but we cut it down to make it, let's say, available for the international market. But if I
Okay.
had the chance, I will have pushed a little bit the film. The film is a bit short, it's 1 hour 42, and
Mm-hmm.
I had a version of 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is developing much more the character and the relationship with the love triangle with these three characters. So really wanted to do that, but unfortunately, you had The Lighthouse coming out recently, and when the film was released, The Shape of Water was released as well. So the film doesn't get the attention it deserves because you have Master del Toro who came with the same kind of film. But I
Mm-hmm.
love that it's my favorite film of what I did with The Divide. It's really the two film I prefer from what I did from the beginning.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily to say The Shape of Water, but just the feel of it and everything with Cold Skin, it had a little bit of a Guillermo del Toro, kind of the monsters and the heart. But I love this movie. Cold Skin, I've had a lot of interviews that I've done. I've, recommended quite a few people this movie just because there are the elements of, fear and terror. You don't know what's going on, but then it really draws you as far as you're pulled in by these characters and the emotions that are going on. And it's really, really awesome.
I really love the film. After it's really about the exploitation in today you realize to make a film like this, it's becoming 4 years ago. I think the best solution will have to do it with Netflix, basically, to or a platform like that. You have directly a big release and stuff. So, but I think that was the end of the indie horror film you can do at that scale of budget. We had quite a big budget to do it, like around 5 million. But today, to get that kind of budget for a film like Cold Skin, it's impossible. It's almost impossible. I think today, if I will have to do Cold Skin again, maximum I could do it for 2.5, 3, but not above. So that big shot with all
Oh,
the
okay.
heroes climbing on the lighthouse will be impossible.
Right. What went into your initial ideas for the costume for, is it Arena? Esrina?
No, it was yeah. Also the lead girl who's playing
Yeah.
Anaris,
Yeah.
Anaris.
Yeah. There you go. I'm sorry.
It's Aura Garrido. So I saw Aura in a movie called The Body, and I
Mhm.
remember I think I saw it like probably 4 years before Colkin, and I remember her look. She had like amazing eyes, very big and blue eyes, really beautiful, very expressive. And when we were talking about the film, we were seeking for an actress who can have that eyes, so specific, a little bit like Emma Stone's eyes. And Aura really get that, and she's so good at performing, working on her body. She had like 3 months of training before the shoot, so it was plus a diet, plus so many difficult situations to go in, and she was amazing. She was really what she did for the film. She had 8 hours of makeup every day, so it was when she was shooting, it was like insane. So
Yeah.
she was like on the deck of the on set from 3 in the morning until 10 in the evening. It was like a very big days of shooting for her, and she had 1 day of break, and then she could keep on going shooting. But it was very, very hard for her to be able to do that, and she was always on top of it, and she was really into her character, really get exactly what we wanted. So I think she is, you imagine, she is able to give an emotion without one word. She's not saying a word in the film. So I think that's what I could perform.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean that's tons of dedication to be in makeup for 8 hours and then go shoot and kind of that's when you're starting your day. So
No,
what in all of your movies, what are some of your favorite uses of practical effects? Whether it be kills, gore,
uh,
just certain
it's
shots.
it's a tricky question because since I did Gangs of London, I realized we can do anything like that. It's
Right.
so fast. When we worked on gangs, we don't need scripts anymore. Even fire from when I was doing Hitman, to put a bullet in a gun and shoot on screen, you had like to put protection to all the crew and protect the crew. Even if it's a blank, you have to put air protection and stuff. And on Gangs of London, as we have a fantastic team at the weaponry, and they were amazing because they had like everything without they have the animation of the gun without the script, without the blank, so you can shoot several times, like when you play cowboy and Indians. And the thing is, after that, in post, you add the bullet ejection and the fire, the squib, and it works perfectly today. It's really impressive. So you don't need this anymore, and you win so much time. When I was doing it, man, probably sometime when you have the big shootout in the club, it was like 5 days of shoot because of the protection you have to take and all the stuff. And now, if I have to do that, I could do it in 2 days. It's gonna go much faster than 10 years ago. So the things are evolving in CGI, but also on practical effects. And the practical effect today, you can really do amazing things. We had an amazing practical effect guy on the shot called Alex Gunn. He's amazing. He did John Rambo, all these movies, and he was amazing.
Right.
He was on the top of everything, and the weapon crew was amazing too. And they were all talking together with the art department as well. I really learned a lot on shooting this TV show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's one thing I really tried to find before we had our interview, and I still haven't been able to find it. So I'm gonna keep on digging because I'm hearing great things about it. But Gangs of London looks awesome.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna answer. It's probably one of the most gory things I did since Frontiers.
Oh, okay. That's a
Uh,
pitch, man. That's a hell of a pitch.
uh,
do you
it's,
have do you have over the years, do you have a specific kill that has still kind of reigned as your favorite in any of your movies?
on the movies or on my movies?
Your movies.
On my movies, I think there is one kill I really like in Cold Skin is when David Oakes, who played Fran, is grabbing one of the creature and uh,
Impales them.
he kills it on the stairs, which I think is very trashy, but it works really very well. It's very simple. And I like when Ray Stevenson shoots the head of one of the creature as well at the door and explode his head, which is which was really beautifully shot as well. But no, I think it's and in gangs I kill several people in a very beautiful way.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I cannot wait to watch that. Are you doing? Is there a season 2 coming out?
Yeah, the season 2 is confirmed with AMC and Sky, and it's gonna shoot
Oh,
probably
okay.
beginning of next year, and it's gonna be available probably in 2022.
Awesome. Are you going to be? I take it you're going to be directing a couple episodes.
I still don't know because I have a feature to do. So it's
Oh.
depending because of the COVID and the pandemic, we don't know when we're gonna shoot that feature, and it's really depending on the schedule if I can shoot or not, and if I can have the time to shoot that gangs and that other movie called An Unfinished Country. So it's really depending on that.
Oh, is that the next one that you're going to be making? Is Unfinished Country?
Yeah, probably it's an unfinished country, and it's a story of two doctors going in South Africa to practice medical tests
Right.
on the population of Soweto, so which is completely against the moral today, and they're going to be confronted to the lead of the hospital.
Uh,
I cannot say for the moment who is going to be the lead of the hospital, but let's say it's to make it simple. Let's say it's training day in the hospital world. So.
oh man! All right. I've read a couple of your interviews. You talking about that, so I'm excited. I can't wait to see that. That'll be awesome.
I'm actually working on the script, and I'm really, really excited about the film. It's gonna be very intense, very emotional as well, because it's more drama. Let's say it's a thriller drama, in the vein of Last King of Scotland,
Right.
Training Day, that kind of film.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
That is awesome, man. That's awesome. I can't wait. This is wrapping up our interview. I've got one last segment for you.
Yep.
Do you have anything that you'd like to plug or anything that you'd like to pitch?
Uh, I'd like to pitch like Gangs of London. I would say as soon as the film is gonna as soon as the series is gonna come to the US, I really hope you guys are gonna be able to watch it because we really enjoyed doing that with Gareth Evans and Corinne Hardy. We had so much fun to do that TV show, and I think you're gonna be blown away by what we did. It's like so insane about action and let's say it's extreme and I'm so proud of the show. I'm really, really happy,
Yes.
so no, I'm really excited about it, and I'm really sure some people will be able they will be obliged to look away.
Awesome. That's always great news to hear. For a horror fan, you're always looking for something that you can turn away from.
That's the reason we are doing that, you know.
Beautiful. All right. So this final segment, there's a couple little things that go into why I'm asking this. So I have named it "A Nightmare on Xavier Street." So what this segment is basically doing some research. I saw that you had with the Divide, the opening sequence was based on a nightmare. And then one of your favorite movies, when you were coming up, was the Nightmare on Elm Street, the series there. So
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you if the studio came up and asked you to make a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, what would you do differently, and who would play Freddy?
Ah, okay, that's interesting. I think I will make it like in a very realistic world, and there will be only one dream at the very end, and it's gonna be all the murdering of Kruger before he gets killed by the parents and burned alive. It's gonna
Oh
be
shit!
it's gonna be just the origin story and how he was kidnapping the kids. It's gonna be like Henry portrait of a serial killer until it turned into a fantasy world at the end after he gets burned by the parents. That's it. That's going to be between Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Nightmare on Elm, classic Nightmare on Elm Street movie at the very end with one nightmare only, and that's it.
Man, I'm nobody, but I need to get a hold of the studio and pitch this shit. That sounds amazing.
It's going to be a pretty hardcore indie horror drama with the final you are not expecting. There is a dream sequence where the guy can transpose himself into dream, but just to not reinventing the mythology of Freddy Krueger. But I think there is such a strong mythology behind, and we are just talking about his origin story for 10 movies, but why we are not doing it? That's such an amazing thing to do.
Man, I hope you can jump on that. That would be
I don't know.
amazing. That'd be amazing.
And so no big makeup and nothing, but just like looking for the actor, I will say Ron Perlman.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
like
Okay.
very dark Ron Perlman, like something he's able to do, but he never did it because he's always a little bit comical. And
Okay.
and putting back Ron Perlman or Michael Shannon.
Oh, Michael Shannon would be sick. That'd be very, very good. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it's these two because they are such a good actor, and I think they will be. But we are just it's just a fantasy, and we are together. But But I think it could be great. I don't know why.
That honestly, I think that would be the best pitch. I think that would be a perfect match.
Okay, cross finger. Let's say.
Oh yeah. Well, Xavier, thank you so much, man. I
Thank you.
truly appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you're doing film wise. I can't wait to add more to my collection. And you stay safe and you take
You.
care. And thank you again, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah.